Hey everyone, so this is Catfish Season 9, Episode 14, Brittany and Mark. Brittany's 25, lives in Ontario, Canada. Um, so she met this guy through Facebook named Mark. He messaged her um, 3 years prior, um, and the reason he got in touch with her was because supposedly he saw a nude photo of her on a revenge site, um, and he thought that she looked hot, so he messaged her, and so um, but it kind of weirded her out, so she stopped talking to him for 2 years, and then this past March he got back in touch with her, and everything like that. So we don't find out about the revenge porn site or whatever um, until until they get her on Zoom, and so she explains the whole situation where she was in a relationship with her ex Billy, who was a supervisor at the time, and she was in a relationship with him for a few years. But what she didn't know was that he was married with a daughter, and so when the wife found out, um, he decided to stay with her for the sake of his daughter. So Billy had new photos of her, and they're thinking like, Billy's wife could have posted it because it was right after her and Billy had ended things. Um, Kamie's wondering why Mark was on a revenge porn site, and because everyone's like, yeah, what's up with that? Why are you doing that? And so because of this whole thing, that's why she stopped messaging Mark, and so when he messaged her again back in March, he was claiming that there was this Bill guy at his house, and so he just got Bill, and everything that he was saying kind of matched Billy. So she was like, "Is Billy's last name such and such?" And he was like, "Well, actually, yeah." Um, so she didn't really think Mark was Billy until recently, because Billy started saying things like if he were Billy, he would regret choosing uh, his wife over Brittany, and um, maybe Billy and his wife aren't together anymore. Um, and she's like revealing. She then reveals, we've had me and Billy have had phone sex, um, you know, a month beforehand, and because they got back in touch because Mark gave her Billy's new number, um, and Billy's, claiming him and his wife are getting divorced, and she's only gotten pictures of Billy's lower half, and um, so Billy has a cousin whose name is Joanne, who sent her $20 for gas, and he's even had her pick up care packages at his house next to his wife's car, by the way. Um, uh, and I'm just like, this girl is so exhausting. I don't understand why she wants to continue dealing with this man. It's just ridiculousness. And I wouldn't be surprised if, um, at this point, I wouldn't have been surprised if the catfish was, his wife. So, um, and she's claiming, well, I've grown as a person since I was last with Mark. And I'm like, clearly you haven't, because if you were, you wouldn't mess with this man with a 10-foot pole if you like if you grown, because you wouldn't mess with him until you've seen divorce papers, little divorce papers that said that him and his wife were divorced. You wouldn't be messing with him. I'm sorry, but you wouldn't. I just mm-mm. And I'm just convinced. I was just convinced by this point that um, she was talking to Billy's wife, and his wife created this smart person to get back at her. Like, I was convinced, because there's no way, there is no way, like, to get. I'm telling you, I was so convinced, and I was right. I was right in the long run. um, so she gets off Zoom eventually, sends everything she has about Mark and Billy. Um, they search everything: Mark's photos, Mark's number, Billy's numbers. They go to Mark's Facebook page, and it's yeah. So Billy's new number. Billy's new number comes back associated with the name Bobby, and ugh, Jesus. So they eventually, find Joanne, Billy's cousin, as a friend of Mark's. Um, they and it was at this point that King was like, "What in the backyard, Billy Goat BS is going on?" To tell you, I laughed so hard at that comment. I was like, man, Kamie really has the best lines of the entire show, because she be cracking me up. I'm telling you. So anyway, after they, look through everything, they go home for the day. And so Nev is having dinner with his mom and his stepfather when he gets a message from Joanne. And so he talks to Joanne on the phone while he's there at the table with his parents. And he's asking her about the money she sent to Brittany. And she was like, well, Mark um, didn't know how to finagle all this. And so um, she decided to help him out to send the money herself. And then she found out who it was for and didn't want to have to do it. Didn't want to have anything to do with the situation, because she's like, Brittany's a homewrecker and tried to ruin a marriage. Um, and she's claiming that Billy came over to her house one time, because her husband used to work with Billy and all that. So she offers to reach out to Mark to see if he's willing to talk with Nev, before hanging up and all that stuff. So Nev's stepfather believes she's hiding something, and his mom thinks, maybe she's actually Mark. So the next day, Nev catches Kamie up. Joanne texts back, wanting to know if Brittany's actually interested in Mark or wants to get back together with Billy. Um, so they're wondering if this is actually Joanne. So they run her phone number, comes back with her name associated with this number. They reply back, and Joanne says he doesn't fully trust Brittany because of being a homeworker and all that. Um, and she's like, saying in all caps to be careful and all that stuff. So now Kamie is wondering if Brittany made up this whole thing to get back with Billy, So they get Brittany back in the Zoom call, fill her in. And then, they're expressing concern about the fact that, maybe Brittany's not telling the whole truth. But Brittany's like, well, look, I have no reason to lie. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, look, there have been people who have come onto this show who claim that they're just wanting to meet the person that they've been talking to for X amount of months or years, and they haven't been able to this point meet up with them or FaceTime or talk on the phone or whatever. And turns out they're actually lying and just wanted to be on TV. So, and that could certainly have been the case here, because we actually had a recent episode where, I don't remember the name, but the girl who was interested in meeting another girl, and she and the girl that she was talking to hatched a plan to, for her to write into the show and meet that way or something like that. So it wasn't like the story that she spun wasn't all up to snuff and all that stuff. So, and I mean, they have to be skeptical because they've been burned in the past before, with the hopefuls wanting to meet the people that they're talking to. So I get it. um, um, so they eventually text Billy to see if he'd be willing to come into the Zoom call. He eventually does. Turns out it's the wife Bobby, which is like, and so the reason why she did all this was because because she was behind the whole Billy profile, or the new Billy, that Brittany has been talking to the past like couple months, and she was behind the whole Mark profile, and she made it back in 2012 or whatever, to I guess snoop on her husband, I guess at first, and then she then started using it back in 2018 to get back at Brittany. And she's saying all this stuff about how she's um, she's she just did it to keep Brittany from trying to talk to her husband, because supposedly, according to Bobby, Brittany has been repeatedly trying to get in touch with Bobby or Billy. Too many B names. I'm sorry. Too many freaking B names here. Brittany, Bobby, Billy. Ugh, Jesus. Take the entire wheel. Ugh. Anyways, so she didn't want Brittany to get in touch with Billy, and so she wanted, because supposedly Brittany's been this entire time for the past like 3 years been trying to get in touch with Billy repeatedly. According to her, we don't actually have any pictures for confirmation, so we don't know if that's actually true, or not, because I mean, I get she's hurt that Billy stepped out on her marriage, but I mean, she's looking really fucking desperate right now, and stupid, and just as much as she's claiming Brittany's looking stupid. I mean, she's actually looks more stupid because of the fact that she's the one who created this whole Mark profile, and started this whole mess to begin with. So it's like she looks more stupid. I mean, yeah, Brittany does look kind of stupid for trying to go back to Billy without any confirmation that he's actually divorced from Bobby, but come on, like, you look even more stupid because of it, because you're the one dangling the carrot in front of her face and all this crap. So it's like, I mean, anyway, so long story short, they go their separate ways. Brittany has had no more contact with Billy, and Bobby's claimed to have shut down the Mark profile, deleted all the pictures and texts and stuff like that Brittany sent to her under the guise of being Billy. And Brittany's apparently uh, met a new guy through one of her friends or something like that, and who's around her age actually. So anyway, this whole thing was a fucking mess. Um, actually a fucking mess. For a change. So, um, but Brittany was fucking exhausting. I'll give you that. She was fucking exhausting. I was tired of her from pretty much almost the beginning, essentially. So, um, yeah. I, anyways, so next week there's this woman named Day who's been talking to Cody. It sounds like for the last 13 years. Um, so we'll see what happens with that. I didn't really see much in regards to anything specific that they found out. Um, we'll see what happens. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty dull next week. I wouldn't be surprised if Cody's says is who he says he is. Um, and that's all I really have for this week. So I will see you guys next week.